And I want to talk about one specific part of this, which is starting before you're ready. And it seems like you dealt with this, especially in the beginning of this kind of imposter syndrome. And I'm sure a lot of business owners, leaders listening are going, I don't know that I'm qualified to be the leader, that I'm supposed to be running the business. It may have been handed down through family, and they're just feeling this. The team is looking up to me to make the calls, and I don't feel like I'm ready. I don't feel like I'm positioned to lead this thing. How did you initially deal with that piece when you went, I'm 23, who's going to want advice from me as a life coach?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was so weighed down with that self-doubt and that insecurity for many, many years. So one of the ways that I navigated it initially was that I threw myself into doing my best to master the craft of what I did. And I tried my best to focus on helping people get results. So I realized that in any given moment, I was either entertaining that conversation in my mind that I don't know enough, I'm too young, who the heck's going to listen to me? Why should they? I'm a fraud. All of those different conversations, those inner dialogues that I think all of us can have regardless of our age. And I would catch it and then shift my attention back to being engaged in the act of either providing the service, right? So providing value to my clients, or learning and training and actually becoming better. And I know it sounds maybe so simple, but it is transformative. If you can catch that inner monologue, if you can catch when you've disengaged and you're being sucked down into a tsunami of self-doubt and just pause, not make yourself wrong, but re-engage in the moment in something proactive you can do to either become better at your craft or listen to your customers or clients or your team and actually receive what they're saying to you, you will naturally build a habit of being an engager, an executor, and someone who's always on the learning path rather than being someone who's so stuck and mired in self-doubt that essentially you're habituating yourself to being mediocre. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's when you focus on yourself and this imposter syndrome, you're not focused on growing and serving. And when you focus on those things, that part dissipates away. That's a great reminder for all of us.
Yeah, and I think over time too, having just the humility to know that nobody knows it all. But I think what most people are looking for, whether it is your clients or your customers or your team, is they want someone who's really listening to them. They want to feel seen and heard and respected and understood. And those are the capabilities that all of us are born with. But oftentimes, when we're nervous because we're insecure, we can want to prove ourselves, right? And want to control everything and want to make ourselves look smarter than we are or more experienced than we are. When taking a more humble yet strengthful position of listening, of acknowledging people, of mirroring back what it is they've said or how they feel, creates this level of connection and trust that transcends anything that you could posture up. And so I don't think people have to fake it until they make it. I think they have to get comfortable in the unknown, get comfortable seated in a space of both humility and a desire to connect, and to have faith that if you stay in that position, you will naturally learn, you will naturally evolve. And if you keep challenging yourself to say, okay, well, great, here's the situation. What might I want to do different next time? Or is there someone out there that has expertise that I can go link up with, read their book, maybe go to some type of workshop or training, or just upskill so that I can become more of the leader that I know I can be. And it's not going to happen in an instant. It's going to be a process over time. And for me, 20 years, I hope I never stop learning. I consider myself a lifelong student. But I think if we can release the pressure of thinking that we have to know it all, or that as leaders that we have to have all the answers, that was probably a big lesson for me, was in the beginning feeling as though, well, no one's going to do it as good as I can, so I have to retain all of the control and I have to do everything, and if I don't do everything right, everything's going to fall apart. And thankfully over time, one of the best things that I've done as a leader is consistently work to surround myself with people that have greater expertise than me, different and greater, so that where I know that I'm dangerously good, I can step up and say, hey, these are my strengths. I'm very clear on this is how we should proceed based on X, Y, and Z. But what do you think about this area? Because that's actually your genius zone. And I want to rely on you, your wisdom, your experience, your instincts to then help us get to where the vision is of where we want to go.